We'll see how a clever wife gets her revenge without getting her own hands dirty. Get your tissues and snacks ready, because this story is going to be intense. But before we dive in, please support this channel by liking this video and subscribing right now, so you don't miss out on other thrilling stories. And as always, Momo wants to say hello to all of you. Check in down in the comments. Write your name, your city, and type here. I'll be waiting. Okay, if you're ready, take a deep breath. Let's get into the story of Clara and Michael. The steady ticking of the wall clock seemed to be Clara's only companion that evening. The hands already pointed to 8 p.m., yet there was no sign of her husband, Michael. On the dining table, the pot roast, Michael's favorite, was starting to get cold, its steam long gone. Clara sighed, trying to push away the anxiety creeping into her heart. Usually, Michael would always call or text if he was going to be late. But today, her messages since the afternoon had been met with only the 2 gray check marks of a delivered, unread message. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway made Clara's face light up. She hurried to the front door, smoothing her hair, wanting to greet her husband looking her best. The door opened. Michael walked in, slightly out of breath. His tie was loosened, and his blazer was slung carelessly over his arm. His face showed a hint of panic. But there was something else in his eyes, something Clara couldn't quite read. "Michael, you're finally home." "I was so worried," Clara greeted him softly, taking his briefcase. Michael didn't answer right away. He threw himself onto the living room sofa, massaging his temples as if he were carrying the weight of the world. "I'm sorry, honey. It was chaos at the office today. Absolutely insane." Clara sat beside him, handing him a glass of water she'd already prepared on the coffee table. "Drink this, honey. Calm down." Michael gulped the water down and then looked at Clara intently. He took both of her hands. "Honey, I'm so sorry. I have to leave tomorrow morning." Clara was stunned, her brow furrowed. "Leave? You mean another business trip? Why is it so sudden, Michael? Usually, you get at least a week's notice." "It's urgent, honey. Extremely urgent." Michael cut in quickly, his tone a little too high from nervousness, though he immediately lowered it. "The client in London is demanding an emergency meeting and a project review over there. My boss can't go because he's sick, so they appointed me. I can't say no. This is about my promotion next year." "London," Clara repeated slowly. A strange feeling settled in her gut. She remembered clearly that every time Michael was sent on a business trip, especially overseas, he would complain for days. Michael was a homebody who hated dealing with passports, packing, and adapting to foreign hotels. When he was assigned a trip to Toronto once, he grumbled for 3 days straight. But this time was different. Clara looked into her husband's eyes. Though his words were full of complaints about how tired he would be flying out tomorrow morning, his eyes couldn't lie. There was a strange glint in them, a spark of enthusiasm he was trying desperately to hide behind a mask of feigned exhaustion. "How long, Michael?" Clara asked, trying to conceal her suspicion. "A week, honey." "5 days at the earliest if things go smoothly," Michael answered. He had already stood up from the sofa and was walking toward the bedroom. "I have to pack now. The flight is at 10 a.m. tomorrow." Clara followed her husband into the bedroom. She watched as Michael quickly opened the closet and pulled out his favorite dark blue suitcase, a birthday gift from her 2 years ago. "Let me help you pack your clothes, honey," Clara offered, opening a drawer of his clothes. "Oh, no, don't worry about it, honey." Michael refused a little too forcefully, causing Clara's hand to freeze mid-air. Realizing his overreaction, Michael quickly forced a stiff smile. "I mean, you should rest. You must be tired from waiting up for me. I can pack my own things. I know which suits I need for the official meetings." Clara took a step back, nodding slowly. "All right, if that's what you want, I'll go heat up dinner for you." "Okay, honey. Thanks. You're the best wife," Michael said, kissing her forehead briefly, before turning back to his pile of clothes. Clara walked out of the room, but her steps didn't lead to the kitchen. She stopped behind the wall, separating the living room, peeking slightly through the ajar bedroom door. Her heart was racing. A wife's intuition sometimes works faster than logic. Michael's behavior tonight was too strange, too enthusiastic for someone who claimed he was being forced to go. and his refusal when she offered to help pack that wasn't like him. Usually, Michael was the needy one, always asking her to prepare everything from his socks to his toiletries. Clara decided to return to the room with a tray holding a warm cup of tea, using the excuse that she wanted to keep him company while he packed. She walked slowly, deliberately making no sound. When she reached the doorway, the sight before her made her blood run cold. Michael wasn't packing clothes into the suitcase. He was standing with his back to the door, facing the vanity mirror. He held his phone, his fingers dancing across the screen, typing a message with incredible speed. And what made Clara's chest tighten was the reflection of her husband's face in the mirror. Michael was smiling, not a tired smile, not a polite smile for a client. It was a radiant, blossoming smile, the smile of a man in love. He would occasionally bite his lower lip, suppressing a small laugh as he read the replies on his screen. "Michael," Clara called out, her voice trembling slightly. Michael jumped, startled. The phone nearly slipped from his hand. With a reflex that was too quick for someone with nothing to hide, he locked the screen and shoved the phone into his pants pocket. His glowing face instantly turned tense and pale. "Oh, honey, you scared me. I didn't hear you coming." Michael laughed awkwardly, his eyes darting around, avoiding Clara's gaze. "I brought you some warm tea," Clara said flatly, placing the tray on the vanity. Her eyes glanced at the bulge in Michael's pocket. "Who were you texting? It seems so interesting you were smiling all by yourself." Michael cleared his throat, adjusting the collar of his shirt, which was already perfectly neat. "Oh, that was just the guys from the office group chat. They were teasing me about having to leave so suddenly, calling me the sacrificial lamb for the project. I just thought it was funny." Clara nodded slowly, though her heart screamed that she didn't believe him. Since when did jokes about being a sacrificial lamb make Michael smile so sweetly? Usually, he would be cursing if he was forced into extra work. "I see," Clara replied curtly. She picked up one of Michael's dress shirts from the bed, folded it neatly, and placed it into the blue suitcase. "You should take a shower, honey, to freshen up. Then you can have dinner." "Yeah, honey, I'll go shower now." Michael grabbed a towel and hurried into the ensuite bathroom. The sound of the bathroom door being locked echoed in the room. Clara stood motionless in the middle of the room, her gaze fixed on the closed bathroom door. The sound of the faucet turning on was quite loud, as if intentionally trying to drown out any other noise from inside. Clara slowly approached the bathroom door, pressing her ear against the wood. Through the sound of the running water, she could hear Michael's voice. He wasn't singing like he usually did. It was a low murmur, like he was recording a voice note or talking to someone in a hushed, whispered tone. Clara couldn't make out the words, but his tone was soft and persuasive. Later that night, after Michael had finally fallen into a deep sleep, or perhaps was only pretending to be asleep, Clara lay beside him, her eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. Michael's back was turned to her. The distance between them on the bed was only a few inches, yet Clara felt as if her husband was already thousands of miles away. "London," Clara whispered to herself. Her gut told her that her husband wasn't going to the city with Big Ben. There was something rotten, something Michael was hiding inside that blue suitcase, now standing upright in the corner of the room. And Clara made a promise to herself. She would find out the truth, no matter how bitter it might be. The morning sun pierced through a small gap in the bedroom curtains, landing directly on Michael's still sleeping face. Clara had been awake for an hour. Her eyes were puffy from lack of sleep, but her mind was crystal clear, sharp as a razor. She looked at her husband's face, the face that once made her feel safe, now held a soul-crushing puzzle. Clara slipped out of bed quietly, walking toward the chair in the corner where Michael had carelessly thrown his work blazer the night before. Her initial intention was just to tidy up and prepare a change of clothes for him, a routine act of a devoted wife. However, the suspicion that had taken root last night compelled her to do something else. With her heart pounding, Clara felt the inside pocket of the blazer. Empty. She moved to the trousers lying on the floor. Her hand touched a crumpled piece of paper. She pulled it out. It was a receipt. Clara's eyes widened as she read the details printed on it. A receipt from a renowned jewelry store downtown, dated yesterday afternoon, the same time Michael claimed he was in a marathon meeting with the audit team. White gold J initial pendant, $850. Clara's chest felt as if it had been struck by a hammer. J. Was it for her, Clara? But today wasn't her birthday, nor was it their anniversary. And Michael hadn't given her anything last night. If it was a surprise, why wouldn't he give it to her before a long trip? Or was J for someone else? The name Jessica, her best friend, flashed through her mind, but Clara quickly dismissed it. It can't be Jessica, she denied internally. Maybe Michael wants to surprise me when he gets back. Though she tried to think positively, the pain was still there. She put the receipt back where she found it, leaving it as if untouched. But that discovery solidified her resolve. The plan she had doubted last night now had to be executed. Clara glanced at the clock. 5:30 a.m. Michael was still snoring softly. She knew his habits. Once asleep, he was hard to wake. Clara tiptoed to her vanity drawer and took out a small, flat, white, circular object. It was a smart tag, a GPS tracker she had bought 2 months ago for her often misplaced car keys but had never gotten around to using. She turned to Michael's blue suitcase standing near the closet. With swift but careful movements, Clara unzipped the suitcase. The contents were neatly packed with the shirts and pants Michael had put in himself last night. Clara felt along the bottom of the suitcase, searching for a gap in the inner fabric lining. There was no gap, she would have to make one. Clara took a small pair of scissors from her sewing kit. The sound of fabric tearing seemed deafeningly loud to Clara, making her hold her breath and quickly glance back at the bed. Michael shifted slightly, mumbled something, and then settled back down. With trembling hands, she slipped the round tracker into the tear in the fabric, making sure it was hidden deep between the suitcase frame and the foam padding. No one would find it unless they dismantled the entire suitcase. Once she was sure it was secure, Clara took a needle and navy blue thread the exact same color as the suitcase fabric. The sewing skills her mother had taught her were now being used for a secret mission. Clara stitched the tear neatly. It was almost invisible. Within 10 minutes, the suitcase looked perfect again. No one would ever suspect a digital spy was embedded within it. A long groan came from the bed. Clara jumped to her feet, quickly closing the suitcase and pretending to be busy dusting the top of the closet. "You're awake, honey?" She greeted in the most normal tone she could manage, hiding the scissors behind her back. Michael rubbed his eyes, sitting on the edge of the bed and yawning widely. "What time is it, honey? Am I late?" "It's only 6. You have plenty of time for a hot shower and breakfast. I made your favorite omelets to give you energy for the trip," Clara said with a smile that felt painful at the corners of her lips. An hour later, they were in the car. Clara was driving while Michael sat beside her, busy with his phone again. The scent of Michael's cologne this morning was overpowering, much stronger than usual. It was an expensive cologne he only wore to weddings, not his daily scent for the office or business trips. "You smell nice, Michael. It's rare for you to wear that one," Clara commented, keeping her focus on navigating the morning traffic of Atlanta towards Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Michael seemed a bit flustered. "Oh, yeah, honey. I'm meeting international clients, you know. Appearance and scent are number one. Gotta be presentable." "Oh," Clara just nodded. Throughout the drive to the airport, Michael seemed restless. His foot tapped nervously on the car floor, and his eyes kept darting to the dashboard clock, as if he were afraid of being a second late. "Even though there was plenty of time, you seem really eager to get there," Clara teased gently. "It's not that, honey. I'm just worried about the traffic on the airport connector." Finally, their car entered the departure area of the international terminal. Clara pulled over at the drop-off zone. "Okay, Michael, I'll go park the car. I'll walk you to the check-in counter. I want to grab a coffee inside anyway," Clara said, preparing to turn off the engine. "Oh no, don't, honey," Michael said quickly, his hand stopping her from turning the key. "I mean, don't bother. You can't park here for long. You'll get towed. Besides, you'll be tired walking all the way inside." "It's okay, Michael. I want to see you check in," Clara insisted, deliberately wanting to see his reaction. Michael's face tensed up. "No, honey. Seriously, I'm in a hurry. The rest of the team is already waiting inside. It wouldn't look good if I'm late joining them just because I'm waiting for you to park. You should just head home, okay? Get some rest." Clara looked deep into her husband's eyes. There was fear there, the fear of his lies being exposed at the last minute. "All right, if that's what you want," Clara finally conceded. Michael breathed a sigh of relief. He quickly opened the car door and got his blue suitcase from the trunk with swift movements. Clara got out just to stand by the car. Michael gave Clara a brief hug, a hug that felt empty and purely formal. "I'm off, honey. Pray for a smooth trip. I'll let you know when I get to the hotel. Be careful, Michael. Don't forget to eat, and don't get into any trouble," Clara whispered, emphasizing the last few words. Michael laughed awkwardly. "Ha ha. You know me, honey? Of course not. I'm just working to secure our future." Without waiting any longer, Michael pulled his blue suitcase and walked quickly into the terminal building without a single glance back, as if he wanted to escape his wife's sight as soon as possible. Clara stood frozen beside the car, watching her husband's back slowly disappear into the crowd of passengers. The strong airport wind blew the ends of her scarf. The fake smile on her face slowly faded, replaced by a cold, piercing gaze. She reached into her purse, pulled out her phone, and opened the tracking app that was now connected to the small device inside Michael's suitcase. On her phone screen, a red dot began to flash actively. Location: International Terminal, Departures. "Go on, Michael," Clara murmured softly, her eyes welling up but filled with a vengeful fire. "Enjoy this little play of yours while you can, because I'll be watching your every move from here." Clara got back into the car, but she didn't immediately drive home. She reclined her seat and waited. Her intuition told her the real show was about to begin in an hour. Clara sped down the airport highway, which was beginning to get congested. Her mind was in turmoil, battling with the logic she was trying to construct. By now, Michael should be in the waiting lounge or perhaps already seated on the plane, waiting for takeoff. If he was truly going to London, the GPS signal would be lost once the plane was in the air. When she arrived home, the silence greeted her. Maria, the housekeeper, was out grocery shopping, making the house feel even quieter than usual. Clara didn't change her clothes. She sat down on the living room sofa, placed her phone on the marble coffee table, and stared intently at the screen. An hour had passed since she left Michael at the Terminal 3 drop-off. If he were telling the truth, the signals should be dead by now, Clara mumbled, her fingers tapping nervously on the edge of the table. Clara opened the tracking app. Her heart pounded as she saw the red dot still shining brightly. Signal active. Battery 98%. Clara frowned. The red dot was not over the Atlantic Ocean or even in the airport area. The dot was moving fast. But not at the speed of an airplane. It was the speed of a car on the highway. And its direction wasn't away from Atlanta. The red dot was moving along I-85, then veered onto GA 400 north. Clara's blood ran cold, her entire body tensing. He's coming back. Why? Various scenarios raced through her mind. Maybe the meeting was canceled, maybe he forgot his passport. But if that were the case, Michael would have called her by now, asking to be picked up or for her to bring him the forgotten item. Clara's phone remained silent. No calls, no messages. Clara's eyes never left the movement of that red dot. The vehicle carrying Michael's suitcase exited at the Northridge Road exit. Clara felt as if her heart was about to burst. She knew that area very well. Intimately. "No, it can't be," she whispered, her voice choked. The dot continued to move, passing a busy main road, then turning onto a smaller, more scenic street. Clara zoomed in on the map on her screen. She knew every turn on that digital road. The dot passed a row of shops, a convenience store at the corner, and finally entered the gates of an elite residential community, the Reserve at Sandy Springs. Clara's breathing became shallow, tears welling up in her eyes without her realizing it. She knew who lived in that community. She had been there many times. She often brought over homemade pies or just stopped by to chat. It was where Jessica lived, her best friend since college, a friend she considered a sister, especially since Jessica's husband passed away 2 years ago in a car accident. Clara had been the first person to comfort Jessica, even frequently asking Michael to help Jessica with insurance paperwork so her friend wouldn't be overwhelmed. Please don't stop there. Please just pass by, Clara prayed inwardly, a foolish hope she clung to even as her logic screamed the truth. But fate had other plans. The red dot turned onto Block C, slowly moved down the street, and then stopped completely. Still. Not moving. Clara pressed the dot to see the address details. 18 Chandler Way. The phone slipped from Clara's hand, thudding onto the thick rug beneath the table. Clara's world felt like it was crumbling. Her body went limp, leaning against the back of the sofa with a vacant stare. That was Jessica's address. So, London was Jessica. The overseas business trip was just a 1-hour drive from their house. Clara let out a soft laugh, a laugh that sounded horrifying in the quiet room, a laugh mixed with choked sobs. How naive she had been. The J initial pendant in Michael's pocket. Of course, it was for Jessica, not Clara. Her memory flashed back to an event last month. There was a small gathering at Jessica's house. Michael had been so diligent, helping to set up chairs and tables, while Clara was busy in the kitchen helping with the food. At the time, Clara thought Michael was just being a good friend to his wife's widowed best friend. Clara had even praised her husband. "Thank you for helping Jessica out, honey. I feel so bad for her, all alone in that big house." Alone. Clara repeated the word with disgust. It turned out that behind that pity was a vile intention, neatly hidden. Clara picked her phone back up. Her hands were shaking violently, but anger was beginning to burn away her sadness. She opened her photo gallery, looking for a picture of her and Jessica together, a photo of them laughing, holding glasses of juice. Jessica's face in the photo looked so innocent and friendly. "How could you, Jessica?" Clara hissed. "I was the one who wiped your tears when your husband died. I lent you my shoulder when you were lonely. And this is how you repay me?" Suddenly, her phone vibrated. A message from Michael. Clara held her breath and opened it. It was a picture of a view from an airplane window with a background of blue sky and white clouds. The caption read, "Thank God. On the plane now, honey. About to take off. Wish me luck. Signals going off. Love you." Clara stared at the photo with a numb expression. She knew it was an old photo. It was taken when they went on vacation to Hawaii last year. She remembered it clearly because there was a small scratch on the airplane window that she had commented on at the time. Michael was lying with such precision. He even had a stock of photos ready to make his charade believable. Clara didn't reply. She let the message sit. She switched back to the tracking app. The dot was still stationary at Jessica's house. An hour later, it was still there. 2 hours later, still there. Until late afternoon, the blue suitcase hadn't moved an inch from her best friend's house. Clara rose from the sofa. She walked to the bathroom and splashed cold water on her swollen face. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. The woman in the mirror looked fragile, her eyes red, her nose swollen. "No," Clara said to her reflection, shaking her head firmly. "You will not be broken by a cheating husband and a two-faced friend. No more crying, Clara. Your tears are too precious for them." She dried her face with a towel. The look in her eyes changed. The gentle, compliant Clara was gone. In her place was a wounded Clara, and a wounded woman is the most dangerous creature in the world. Clara walked out of the bathroom, picked up a small notebook and a pen. She started writing down points for a plan. She wouldn't confront them now. That was too easy. It wouldn't be painful enough for them. Michael and Jessica had to feel a slow, agonizing pain, like a poison spreading silently through their blood. "Enjoy your time," Clara mumbled, looking at her phone screen one last time at the stationary red dot at 18 Chandler Way. "Consider this the most luxurious farewell before I take everything back." That night, Clara slept alone in their king-sized bed, which felt enormous. But strangely, she slept soundly. Not because she was at peace, but because she was exhausted from plotting her war strategy for the next day. A war that wouldn't use firearms, but would destroy the lives of two traitors down to their very roots. The night grew deeper, blanketing the large house in an eerie silence. Clara sat on the edge of the bed, her back straight, phone clutched tightly in her hand. She had showered and was wearing Michael's favorite silk pajamas. a habit she always maintained whenever he was away on business, so she would look beautiful for him during their video calls. The difference tonight was that there was no longing in her chest, only a cauldron of rage ready to erupt but held back with all her might. 9:10 p.m. Her phone vibrated with a long buzz. The contact name My Husband, My World appeared on the screen, accompanied by their smiling profile picture. Clara stared at the screen with a wry smile, a bitter irony. She took a deep breath, composed her expression in front of the mirror for a moment, making sure there was no trace of anger or sadness. She had to be the best actress tonight. Clara swiped the green button. "Hey, honey! You made it!" She greeted in a cheerful, fabricated tone, her voice sounding light and full of concern. Michael's face appeared on the screen. His hair was wet and neatly combed back. His face was fresh, and he was wearing a plain white t-shirt. But the background was strange. Just a plain white wall, without any decorations, no hotel headboard, no paintings, not even a window. The camera angle was very tight, as if Michael was deliberately cornering himself so no other part of the room would be visible. "Hey, honey." "Thank God, I just got to the hotel room," Michael replied, wiping his neck with a small towel. "Man, London is so humid tonight, even with the AC blasting." The drive from the airport to the hotel was brutal, so much traffic. "My back feels like it's about to break." Clara fought the urge to vomit hearing his lies. She knew exactly where Michael was. The drive from the highway exit to Jessica's house wouldn't break anyone's back. And humid? Of course, he'd feel warm if he'd just been engaged in other activities, not because of the weather. "Oh, you poor thing," Clara cooed, leaning closer to the camera, feigning pity. "Is the hotel nice? The angle looks a bit cramped. Show me the view from your room. Maybe we can vacation there together sometime." Michael looked flustered. His eyes darted left and right. "Oh, no, honey. The room's a mess. I just unpacked. Clothes are everywhere. It's embarrassing. Besides, it's an old hotel. The company is cutting costs, so I got a basic 3-star place. No great view." Clara nodded, pretending to believe him. "Well, as long as you can rest comfortably. Have you had dinner yet?" "Yeah, I grabbed some fish and chips on the way." "It was delicious." Michael lied again. Clara was certain that on Jessica's dining table right now, there was a home-cooked meal. Jessica was an excellent cook. She made a fantastic pot roast, Michael's favorite. Suddenly, in the middle of their conversation, a very distinctive clock chime could be heard. Dong, dong. The sound was deep, resonant, and slow. It wasn't the sound of a modern digital hotel clock. It was the chime of an antique grandfather clock made of mahogany. Clara's heart pounded. She knew that sound very well. It was the sound of the clock inherited from Jessica's grandfather, which stood majestically in her living room. Clara had stayed over many times before, and the clock always chimed on the hour. Michael's face went pale. He tried to cover his panic with a few small coughs, attempting to mask the sound of the chimes in the background. "What was that sound, Michael?" "It sounds like an antique clock," Clara asked innocently, but her eyes were locked on her husband's pupils through the screen. Michael forced a laugh, a dry and hollow sound. "Oh, that. Yeah, honey. There's a huge antique clock in the hotel lobby downstairs. The sound is so loud, it carries up to the upper floors. You know, old building, poor soundproofing." "Oh, I thought you were at someone's house," Clara prodded gently. "Whose house would I be at?" Michael's tone suddenly became defensive and sharp. "Well, maybe you stopped by an old friend's house, someone who lives in London." Clara backtracked smoothly, smiling sweetly to diffuse the tension. Michael let out a sigh of relief, his tense shoulders relaxing slightly. "Of course not, honey. I'm here to work, not for a reunion. I don't know anyone here." Clara paused, letting silence fill the conversation for a few seconds. She was preparing the final needle to prick her husband's comfort bubble for the night. "Oh, by the way, Michael, I was just thinking about Jessica," Clara said suddenly. Michael's expression tensed again. "Jessica? Why are you suddenly talking about Jessica?" "Yeah, I saw her social media status earlier. It looked like she was sad and lonely. Poor thing. It's been 2 years since she became a widow." She must be so lonely in that big house, Clara said, watching every twitch on her husband's face. Michael, remember how much Jessica loves that Godiva chocolate from the duty-free shops? If you have time, could you buy some for her? I'll give it to her when you get back. It would be a nice way to cheer up my best friend. Clara saw it. She clearly saw Michael's eyes glance to the side of the camera, not at the screen, as if looking at someone sitting just out of frame. There was a faint, suppressed smile on his lips, and a barely perceptible nod, as if seeking that person's approval. Sure, honey, that's a great idea. I'll look for it if I get a chance to go to the duty-free shop, Michael replied, his voice softer now. There was a hint of affection in his tone, but Clara knew it wasn't meant for her. It was for the woman sitting in front of Michael right now, the woman whose name had just been mentioned. Thanks, Michael. You're such a thoughtful husband. So considerate to your wife, and to your wife's best friend, Clara said with subtle sarcasm. But Michael, lost in his love affair, didn't catch it. Okay, honey, I have to get back to work. I have some reports to read. You should get some sleep, don't stay up too late. Take care of yourself at home. Michael was eager to end the call. Perhaps the hostess was getting impatient, waiting for her turn to be affectionate. You too, Michael. Love you, Clara said flatly. Love you too, honey. The call ended. The screen went dark. Clara placed her phone on the bed. She didn't cry this time. Her heart had turned to ice. The sound of the antique clock was the final, irrefutable confirmation. There was no longer any doubt. She imagined that on the other side, at 18 Chandler Way, Michael and Jessica were probably laughing together, laughing at her stupidity. They probably thought Clara was a naive wife, easily fooled by a white wall background and excuses about a bad signal. Laugh all you want tonight, Clara whispered into the silence of the room, because tomorrow, I won't just be watching. Clara turned off the master bedroom light, plunging the room into darkness, but in her mind, plan after plan began to light up. The silent investigation would begin tomorrow morning. She needed more concrete evidence than just a GPS signal and the sound of a clock. She needed numbers, she needed paper, and she needed legal facts that would leave Michael with no room to escape when Judgment Day arrived. The next morning, Clara was no longer in her usual house dress. She stood before the mirror wearing a navy blue blazer and tailored trousers that fit her perfectly, her old work attire, before she decided to become a full-time housewife for Michael's sake. Her face was adorned with light but firm makeup, concealing the dark circles under her eyes. The gentle aura that usually radiated from her was replaced with a cold decisiveness. Maria, who was sweeping the living room, looked at her employer with surprise. "Ma'am, you're going out? You're dressed so nicely this early." Clara nodded, slipping her wallet and a folder of important documents into her handbag. "Yes, Maria. I have some important business to attend to all day, probably until the evening." She walked over to the housekeeper who had served her for 5 years. Clara placed a hand on Maria's shoulder gently. "Maria, please listen to me carefully. While Mr. Michael is away, don't let anyone in except for delivery couriers. And if he calls the house phone and asks where I am, just tell him I'm at my parents' house and I left my cell phone in the bedroom. Do you understand?" Maria saw the seriousness in her employer's eyes. Without asking questions, the middle-aged woman nodded obediently. "I understand, ma'am. I'll watch the house." Clara's first destination was the bank. She sat in the glass-walled customer service cubicle with a stoic expression, requesting a printout of the last 3 months of statements for their joint savings account, an account Michael primarily managed. Clara rarely checked it, trusting her husband completely to handle their major expenses while she managed the monthly household budget. Sheet after sheet of paper emerged from the dot matrix printer, its screeching sound breaking the silence. The bank teller handed her the stack of papers in a brown envelope. Clara didn't wait until she got home. She sat in her parked car in the bank's basement garage and tore open the envelope impatiently. Her eyes scanned the columns of debits and credits. Her index finger stopped on one transaction line dated the 5th of last month. Outgoing transfer, $5,000. Description: Jessica Catering. Clara's breath caught in her throat. $5,000. Michael had told her last month that his annual bonus was cut because his division's performance was down. It turned out the money went here. Her eyes scanned the next line. Outgoing transfer, $1,500. Description, hospital PMT. This date was exactly when Jessica had her appendix removed. Outgoing transfer, $750. Description, car note PMT. Clara's blood boiled. She remembered it vividly. Last month, Michael had refused to buy a new air conditioner for the broken one in the guest room, saying, "We have to be frugal, honey. The economy is tough." But behind her back, her husband was a walking ATM for that widow. Michael was financing Jessica's life, using their future savings money that largely came from the sale of her parents' inherited property, which she had deposited into their joint account as a gesture of trust. "You're something else, Michael. Using my father's inheritance to support your mistress," Clara hissed, her hand crumpling the bank statement until it was a wrinkled mess. But Clara knew that anger alone wouldn't save her assets. She started the car and drove to her second destination, the law firm of Davison and Associates. Mr. Davison was a senior lawyer and a close friend of Clara's late father. The middle-aged man greeted Clara with a warm smile that quickly turned into a concerned frown when he saw the tense look on his friend's daughter's face. In the soundproofed office, Clara laid everything out not with tears but with data. She showed him the proof of transfers. She told him about the GPS and her suspicions. Mr. Davison took off his reading glasses and sighed heavily. "Clara, I'm so sorry to hear this, but I'm proud of you for not being reckless. Coming here was the right first step." "What should I do, Uncle David?" "The house we live in was inherited from my father, but the deed is in the safe at home. The SUV, we bought it with my money, but it's in Michael's name because my ID was lost at the time." Clara's voice trembled slightly. Her biggest fear wasn't losing her husband, but losing her dignity and her parents' legacy. Mr. Davison opened a drawer and took out a folder. "Listen to me. Legally, an inheritance is separate property. It can't be divided as marital assets, unless you've transferred the title to Michael's name. I haven't, Uncle David. It's still in my father's name. I never got around to transferring it to myself." "Good. That's safe then. The key now is the physical deed. You must secure the original document today. Don't let Michael get his hands on it or use it as collateral for a loan. As for the car and the joint savings, we need to act fast before he realizes, you know. Do you have access to the online banking or the security token for that account?" "I do, Uncle David. I have the spare token at home." "When you leave here, immediately transfer the remaining balance from the joint account to a new personal account of your own. Empty it. If he asks later, tell him you invested it or put it in a certificate of deposit. Keep him from getting suspicious until you're ready to kick him out. And one more thing." Mr. Davison's gaze sharpened. "Gather more visual proof of the affair. Bank statements prove financial infidelity. But to win an absolute divorce settlement and ensure you're in the strongest possible position, you need visual evidence of them together." Clara nodded firmly. "I understand, Uncle David." That afternoon, Clara returned home on a mission to secure her assets. She entered Michael's home office. She usually hesitated to go in there because Michael always called it his private workspace. But today, there was no more privacy for a traitor. Clara opened the small safe hidden behind a painting on the wall. She knew the code, their wedding date. How ironic that Michael used that sacred date to lock away the assets he was plundering. Click. The safe door swung open. Clara took out the house deed, Chem, the title for the SUV, the title for Michael's sports motorcycle, and some gold bars they had saved. She put all the valuable documents into a large bag. As she was about to close the safe, her eyes caught a small, red velvet box in the deepest corner. She opened it. Inside was a pair of wedding rings, but not theirs. Engraved inside the rings were the names. Michael and Jessica, 2024. Clara's hand trembled so violently the box fell from her grasp. 2024. This year. They had already exchanged rings. Had they gotten secretly married? The thought hit Clara like a punch to the gut. No wonder Michael was so generous with his money. No wonder he dared to stay over for days. Jessica wasn't just a mistress. To Michael, Jessica was probably his hidden second wife. Clara picked up the rings, clenching them in her fist until her palm hurt. She needed that pain to keep her sanity intact. "All right, Michael. If you're going to play this game, I won't hold back either," Clara muttered. She emptied the safe completely, leaving only a single piece of paper inside. A photocopy of her and Michael's marriage certificate, which she had crossed out with a thick red marker. Later that afternoon, Clara went to another bank to rent a safe deposit box in her name only. She locked away her entire financial future there, far from Michael's greedy reach. Step 1. Finances secured. Assets safe. Step 2. Visual evidence. Clara took out her phone and called a car rental agency far from her neighborhood. "Hello, I'd like to rent a black SUV with 80% tinted windows. Yes, for 3 days. I'll pick it up tonight." Clara hung up. Tomorrow, she would become a private investigator of her own husband's life. She would see with her own eyes how happy they were on top of her suffering, and she would record every second of it to be her ultimate weapon in court. The sun climbed higher, beating down on the asphalt streets of the reserve at Sandy Springs. Under the shade of a large, leafy tree, about 50 yards from house number 18, a black SUV was parked quietly. Its heavily tinted windows made it impossible for anyone outside to see in. But from behind the wheel, Clara could see the world with perfect clarity. Clara had been sitting there for 3 hours. Her legs were starting to feel stiff, but her eyes hadn't blinked, fixed on the gate of Jessica's cream-colored house. On the passenger seat lay a DSLR camera with a telephoto lens, which she had borrowed from her photographer brother, telling him she wanted to take pictures of birds in the city park. But today, her subject wasn't birds, but 2 snakes in the grass. 9 a.m. According to the fictitious schedule Michael had sent her, he should be in a morning briefing with the technical team at the London branch office right now. Click! The sound of Jessica's front gate opening. Clara's body tensed. She immediately grabbed her camera, aiming the lens at her target. A figure emerged. Michael. Clara held her breath. Her husband's appearance made her chest ache with anger. Michael was wearing nothing but a pair of basketball shorts and a thin, worn-out t-shirt, a shirt she had bought him at a flea market, which he'd said he was too embarrassed to wear outside. But now, he was wearing it casually at another woman's house. In his hand, Michael held a garden hose. He began watering the bougainvillea in the large pots lining Jessica's porch. Clara sneered while pressing the record button on her camera. "Unbelievable, Michael! At our own house, you say you're too tired from work to even change a light bulb. Here, you're playing gardener." Michael seemed to be humming. He occasionally greeted neighbors jogging by with a friendly nod, as if he were an official resident there, as if he were the man of the house. His relaxed demeanor showed that his presence there was no secret to the neighborhood. Did Jessica's neighbors think they were husband and wife? Or was Michael introduced as a relative? She didn't know. What was clear was that Michael felt safe. A moment later, the front door opened wide. Jessica came out carrying a tray with 2 cups and a small plate of pastries. Jessica was wearing a simple house dress, her hair clipped up messily, a very domestic, very wifely look. Clara zoomed in. The image quality on her camera screen was so sharp she could see the steam rising from the coffee cups. Jessica walked over to Michael, who was coiling the hose. Without hesitation, Jessica wrapped her arms around Michael's waist from behind, resting her chin on his broad back. Michael didn't pull away. Instead, he turned around, laughed heartily, and playfully pinched Jessica's nose. Click, click, click. Clara captured the moment over and over. Each shutter sound felt like a slash across her heart, but she kept pressing it. She needed this proof. She needed proof that their love wasn't a one-night mistake, but a well-structured double life. They then sat down on the porch chairs. Jessica picked up a piece of pastry, blew on it briefly, and then fed it to Michael. Michael accepted it eagerly, then wiped the corner of Jessica's lips with his thumb. The scene was so disgusting, yet so painful. It was the kind of intimacy that had long vanished from Clara's marriage. The Michael there looked alive, cheerful, and carefree, a stark contrast to the Michael at home with Clara, who always complained of being tired, was always engrossed in his gadgets, and always had an excuse to avoid deep conversations. Clara lowered her camera for a moment and picked up her phone. She wanted to conduct a small test, a cruel experiment to see how quickly her husband could switch roles. Clara typed a WhatsApp message to Michael. "Hey honey, how's the meeting going? I miss you so much. Don't forget to have lunch, okay?" Clara peeked through the camera lens again. On the porch, Michael's phone, lying on the table, vibrated. Michael glanced at the screen. Instantly, the smile on his face vanished. His expression became flat, even slightly annoyed. Jessica seemed to pout but obliged. Michael picked up his phone and typed a reply quickly, without a smile, without any expression of love. His face was as stiff as a robot's. "Ting." A reply came to Clara's phone. "It's going well, honey. Just on a short break now. My head is spinning. The meeting content is really heavy. I miss you too. I'll text you later. Have to go back to my presentation." Clara read the message while watching the reality unfold. "Presentation," Michael said. Yet right now, he was taking a second pastry and laughing again after putting his phone down. His annoyed expression from a moment ago instantly vanished the second he was done dealing with Clara. "You're a real method actor, Michael," Clara muttered coldly. "You deserve an Oscar." Clara recorded one last video, a 5-minute clip capturing their intimate interactions from holding hands, to Jessica massaging Michael's shoulders, to them walking back into the house with their arms around each other's waists. The door closed. The morning show was over. Clara checked her footage. It was clear. Their faces were perfectly visible. There was no denying it. This wasn't slander. It was fact. Clara could have gotten out of the car right then. She could have stormed the gate, screamed, pulled Jessica's hair, and slapped Michael in front of the neighbors. It would have satisfied her emotions for a moment. But Clara restrained herself. No, that's too barbaric. It's not elegant. If she confronted them now, Michael would probably try to squirm out of it, apologize, and Jessica would play the victim. Michael had to lose everything at the moment of realization. He had to come home to an empty house, a ruined career, and a tarnished reputation. Clara wanted Michael to feel the fall, from a great height, right when he felt the most secure. Clara started her car. She had what she needed for today. Visual proof in hand. Financial proof secured. Assets rescued. As her car slowly left the Grand Wysada complex, Clara passed the security post. She stopped for a moment, rolling down her window. "Excuse me, sir." Clara greeted the security guard on duty. "Yes, ma'am. Can I help you?" "The house at number 18 on Block C? The cream-colored one? That's Miss Jessica's house, right?" Clara asked conversationally. "Oh, that's right, ma'am. Miss Jessica's," the guard replied warmly. "Is her husband home?" "I wanted to drop off a reunion invitation, but I don't want to get the wrong person," Clara probed. The guard nodded confidently. "Oh, yes. Ma'am, Mr. Michael is there. His car isn't here. Maybe it's at the shop, but he's home. He's often home on weekends or when he's on leave. Such a nice couple, ma'am. Very friendly." Clara smiled, a smile with a double meaning. "Oh, his name is Michael, so it is the right person. Thank you, sir. I'll just contact him directly then." "You're welcome, ma'am." Clara rolled up her window and drove away. The guard's statement was the final piece of the puzzle. Mr. Michael. So, in this neighborhood, Michael was known as Jessica's husband. Jessica's status as a widow had likely been erased in the neighbors' eyes thanks to Michael's constant presence. Clara drove home with a strangely lighter feeling. The heartbreak was still there, of course, but the confusion and doubt had completely vanished. Her goal was now clear. The finish line was in sight. There were only 3 days left before Michael's overseas trip ended. 3 days that Clara would use to set the stage for the execution. Their home would become the courtroom, and Clara would be the sole judge. "Have your fun while you can, Michael," Clara whispered to the wind blowing from the car's AC. "Because your return ticket isn't to my embrace, but to the hell you created for yourself." The remaining 3 days before Michael's return were utilized by Clara with terrifying efficiency. There were no more tears, no more brooding in the corner of the room. Clara moved like a quiet but deadly demolition machine. The luxurious house now became a site for a massive cleanup operation. First target, the garage. That morning, a man in a leather jacket arrived with a cheerful face. He was a used motorcycle dealer Clara had contacted through an online marketplace the night before. In front of him was a gleaming red 250cc sport motorcycle, Michael's pride and joy. Michael cared for that motorcycle better than he cared for his marriage. Every Sunday morning, it was washed, polished, and its engine revved until the roaring sound annoyed the neighbors. "Are you sure you want to sell it for this price, ma'am? This is way below the market value. Are all the papers in order?" the dealer asked, half in disbelief, his hand stroking the flawless fuel tank. Clara handed over the original title and registration. "Everything's in order, sir. Registration is current. I'm just selling it quickly because I need the garage space for a cat kennel. It's too cramped with this big bike here." An absurd excuse, but the dealer didn't care. For him, this was a windfall. "All right, ma'am. I'll transfer the money now." 5 minutes later, Michael's beloved motorcycle was being wheeled out the gate. Clara watched it go without a shred of regret. The money from the sale, though at a significant loss, was immediately transferred to her new personal savings account. "One burden gone," Clara muttered as she closed the gate. Clara went back inside, heading for the master bedroom. She opened Michael's wardrobe wide. The scent of her husband's cologne wafted out a scent she once adored, now made her stomach churn. "Maria!" Clara called out loudly. Maria hurried in from the kitchen, her hands still wet. "Yes, ma'am. What is it?" "Please go to the corner store for a minute. Ask for a lot of used cardboard boxes, the ones from instant noodles." "5 or 6 of them," Clara commanded flatly. Maria stared, bewildered. "Cardboard boxes, ma'am? What for?" "If you want to pack Mr. Michael's clothes, he has other nice suitcases in the storage room." Clara smiled faintly, a smile that sent a shiver down Maria's spine. "No need for suitcases, Maria. Suitcases are for people with dignity. For trash, cardboard boxes will do just fine. Please hurry." Maria didn't dare to argue. She ran out of the house. Her gut told her a massive storm was brewing in her employer's home, but she chose to stay quiet and obey. While waiting for the boxes, Clara began sorting through Michael's valuable possessions. Watches. Michael had a collection of 5 designer watches, stored neatly in a glass case. 3 of them were birthday gifts from Clara, bought with her own savings. Clara took them all. She tossed them into a paper bag as if they were cheap plastic toys. Later that afternoon, she would take them to a flea market. She didn't care if the price was low. She just wanted them gone from her sight. A mirrorless camera, extra lenses, a set of golf clubs used only twice, limited edition sneakers, she gathered them all in the middle of the room. These items were symbols of Michael's hedonistic lifestyle, financed by Clara's patience and the inheritance from her parents that they managed together. When Maria returned with a stack of musty-smelling boxes, Clara went straight to work. She threw Michael's work clothes into the boxes. Expensive shirts, branded suits, tailored trousers, she shoved them all in without folding. No more special treatment, no more neatly pressed and fragrant clothes. The clothes now looked like rags, ready to be thrown out. "Ma'am, this is Mr. Michael's expensive suit, ma'am." "It will get wrinkled," Maria squeaked, horrified at how Clara was treating her male employer's clothes. "Let it get wrinkled, Maria. It will match the character of its owner," Clara replied curtly, taping the box shut with rough, tearing sounds that filled the quiet room. Within 2 hours, Michael's side of the wardrobe was completely empty, leaving only rattling, lonely hangers. 5 cardboard boxes were now stacked in the corner of the room, containing Michael's entire identity in this house. Clara wrote on the boxes with a thick, black, permanent marker, "Discarded items. For pickup. Next step. The digital assault." Clara sat in the study and opened her laptop. She logged into her online banking service. The primary credit card Michael used was a supplementary card from Clara's account. She had set it up for him years ago for emergencies. But it turned out Michael's version of an emergency was buying a gold necklace for the widow next door. Clara clicked the block card button. Reason for blocking: fraudulent use. Clara imagined the scenario in her head. Maybe tonight Michael would want to show off and treat Jessica to an expensive seafood dinner to celebrate their farewell before his return. When the cashier swiped the card, declined. Clara chuckled softly at the thought. So much for your pride. She also changed the passwords for Netflix, Spotify, and all the subscription services registered under her email but used by Michael on his iPad. They were small things, but Clara wanted to ensure that when Michael walked out of this house, he wouldn't be able to enjoy even the smallest comfort paid for by her. By evening, the house felt strange, larger, more echo-filled, but cleaner. Michael's aura was slowly being erased. The wedding photos that adorned the living room walls had been taken down by Clara and stacked face down in the storage room. In their place, Clara hung a large abstract painting that had been in storage because Michael disliked it. Now, this house was hers again. Her taste, her rules. Clara sat on the sofa with a cup of tea, staring at the stack of boxes in the corner. "Maria," she called again. "Yes, ma'am. From tomorrow, please lock the guest room door. Keep the duplicate key with you. When Mr. Michael comes home the day after tomorrow and asks why his room is empty, just say I'm redecorating and his things have been moved to the patio. Don't tell him they're in cardboard boxes." "Yes, ma'am. Ma'am. Are you okay?" Maria asked, mustering her courage, her eyes welling up as she saw her employer's unusual stoicism. Clara turned and smiled, a genuine smile for the first time this week. "I've never felt better, Maria. It feels like I've just recovered from a chronic illness that has been eating away at me for a long time." That night, Clara slept in a room that now felt spacious without Michael's things. She didn't feel lonely. She felt powerful. On her phone screen, the GPS dot was still stationary at Jessica's house. Clara no longer monitored it every hour. She didn't care what Michael was doing anymore. To her, the man at Jessica's house was already dead. The person arriving in 2 days was just an uninvited guest who needed to be evicted in the most respectful yet painful way possible. All preparations were complete. The stage was set. Assets were secure. Evidence was in hand. Clara closed her eyes. "Come home, Michael. The real surprise isn't in London, but right here. In the house you once called your paradise, but treated as a mere stopover." The day finally arrived. Tuesday, 5 p.m. The Atlanta sky was overcast, as if supporting Clara's somber mood, which was filled with hidden lightning. Clara sat on a wicker chair on the second-floor balcony, her favorite spot to watch the neighborhood street without being seen. She wasn't wearing a worn-out house dress. Today, she wore a knee-length maroon dress, the color of courage, the color of war. Her hair was in a modern updo, her face flawlessly made up. She wanted Michael to see the best version of his wife right before she kicked him out of her life. The phone on her lap vibrated. A WhatsApp message from Michael. "Thank God, I've landed, honey. Waiting for my luggage now." The line at customs was incredibly long. Clara smirked as she read the message. "Customs? You were probably just saying a long goodbye to your mistress in her living room." Clara's fingers danced across the screen, typing a baited reply. "That's great. Should I pick you up at the airport, Michael? I'm all ready to go. I miss you so much, I want to hug you right now. We can have dinner out." 3 seconds later, Michael's status changed to typing. Then stopped, then typing. Again. The hesitation was palpable. "No, honey, don't. I've already ordered an Uber. I'm about to leave. It would be a hassle for you to drive all the way to Hartsfield in this traffic. Just wait for me at home, okay? Cook my favorite meal. I miss home-cooked food." Clara let out a small, dry, emotionless laugh. "Of course, you'd say no. How could you explain a trip from the airport to home taking only 15 minutes? Clara didn't reply again. She refocused her gaze on the end of the street. The tracking app on her iPad showed the red dot starting to move away from Jessica's house. It was only 2 kilometers away. So close. How ironic. For a week, her husband was overseas, when in reality, he had just moved in a few blocks away. 10 minutes passed. A white Honda CR-V appeared at the corner. Clara's heart pounded, not from love, but from the adrenaline of a hunter seeing its prey approach. It was Jessica's car. Clara knew the license plate, B1157 RMD. The car didn't stop right in front of Clara's gate. Jessica, with all her cunning, stopped the car at the end of the street near the unattended security post, about 5 houses away. Perhaps to be less conspicuous, Or maybe so they could have their farewell kiss without being caught by a neighbor's security camera. Clara picked up her late father's small binoculars. She saw the passenger door open. Michael got out, pulling the blue suitcase, the silent witness carrying Clara's tracker. Before closing the door, Michael leaned back into the car. Clara could see his head disappear inside the cabin for a good 5 seconds. That wasn't just a goodbye. That was a farewell kiss. Clara's blood boiled, but she held it in. Enjoy that last kiss, Michael, because after this, the only thing your lips will be tasting is dust. Michael straightened up, waving with a wide smile. Jessica's car drove off, turning back towards its nest. Michael adjusted his blazer, took a deep breath, and started walking towards his own home. He dragged the suitcase with a light step, as if he had truly just returned from a successful business trip. He reset his face, contorting it slightly to look tired. His shoulders slumped a bit. The acting began. Clara moved from the balcony, down to the first floor. She turned off all the main lights in the living and family rooms. The thick curtains were drawn, making the house dim, almost dark, with only a little light filtering through the vents. She also turned off the central AC and switched on a ceiling fan at low speed, creating a monotonous whirring sound and an atmosphere that wasn't as comfortable as usual. There was no smell of cooking. The kitchen was clean, the stove was cold. There was no warm welcome. Clara sat on a single sofa in the darkest corner of the living room, her legs crossed elegantly. She waited. The sound of the iron gate being slid open. Screech, screech. Then the sound of a key turning in the lock. Click. The front door opened. The afternoon light from outside flooded in, creating a silhouette of Michael's body in the doorway. He dragged his suitcase inside and closed the door. "Honey, I'm home!" Michael's voice was cheerful, but a bit hesitant as he saw the dark house. "Honey, are you here?" Silence. No answer. Michael stepped further inside. "Honey, why is it so dark? Did the power go out?" He fumbled along the wall for the light switch but didn't turn it on. He was still surprised. Maybe Clara was hiding to surprise him. "Come on out, honey. Don't play hide and seek. I'm tired," Michael chuckled, trying to lighten the increasingly creepy atmosphere. "Where's my beautiful wife? You said you missed me." Michael walked towards the family room. His foot tripped on something hard on the floor. It wasn't a table. It was a stack of boxes. Many boxes. Michael's unease grew. The air in the house felt alien cold, but not the cold of AC. It was a bone-chilling cold, like an abandoned house. "Maria? Maria!" Michael called out, his voice rising an octave in panic. Still silence. Maria had been instructed by Clara to lock herself in the back room with headphones on. Michael stood frozen, in the middle of the dim room. The blue suitcase slipped from his grasp. He felt like he had walked into a trap. His instincts screamed, "Danger! Honey, where are you?" That's when the voice emerged calm, flat, and authoritative. "Welcome home, Michael. Welcome back from London." Michael jumped, startled. He spun around towards the corner of the room. There, in the shadows, Clara sat motionless like a statue. Her eyes were sharp, reflecting the faint light from outside, making her look terrifying. There was no smile on her face, no spark of longing, only the gaze of a judge ready to deliver a death sentence. "Honey, you're there!" "My God, you scared me." Michael clutched his chest, trying to laugh, though it sounded forced. Cold sweat began to trickle down his temples. "Why are all the lights off?" "I thought no one was home. It's so dark, like a haunted house." "It is," Clara replied curtly. She didn't move. This house became haunted the moment its occupant preferred to live in someone else's. Michael froze. The smile vanished from his face. That sentence, it was too specific. "What do you mean, honey?" "I don't understand. I just got back from work. I'm exhausted from the long trip." Michael tried to stick to his script, though his voice began to tremble. He took a step closer, wanting to reach for his wife's hand. "Are you sick?" "You're talking strangely. Don't come any closer," Clara commanded coldly. Her voice wasn't loud, but it had a force that stopped Michael in his tracks, as if an invisible wall had sprung up between them. Clara slowly stood up. She walked to the main light switch. "You said you're tired from a long trip, Michael?" she asked, her hand on the switch. Yes, honey. The flight was delayed, and the traffic. Click. The living room lights flooded the space. The bright light momentarily blinded Michael. When his vision focused, his eyes widened in horror. The sight before him made his knees go weak. On the glass coffee table in front of the sofa, there was no welcome home meal. Instead, there was his old, battered suitcase, wide open and filled with his old clothes. Beside it, neatly arranged, were printed photos of him watering plants at Jessica's house, pages of bank statements highlighted in red, and a tablet displaying a GPS location that had been stationary at 18 Chandler Way for 5 consecutive days. "Welcome to reality, Michael," Clara whispered. Michael's face was ashen. He stumbled backward, bumping into the stack of cardboard boxes behind him. The expensive blue suitcase he had just brought in now seemed like a joke. His charade had crumbled in a single second. Michael stood frozen, his eyes staring blankly at the coffee table as if seeing a ghost. The high-resolution photo of him in shorts at Jessica's house. The bank statements with red highlights on the transfers to Jessica Catering. Michael's knees gave way. He sank onto the sofa, right in front of the evidence of his crimes. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. Not a single word would come out. His brain, usually so clever at twisting facts, was completely blank. "Why so quiet, Michael?" Clara asked softly, but the softness felt sharper than a razor blade. "Tell me about London. Is the weather in Sandy Springs as beautiful as by the River Thames?" Michael swallowed hard. Beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. He tried to look into his wife's eyes, searching for any remnant of love or doubt he could manipulate, but there was none. Clara's eyes were dark and empty, like a bottomless well. "Honey, this is a misunderstanding," Michael stammered, his voice hoarse and broken. "Where did you get these photos? They're photoshopped. Technology is so advanced now, people can frame me anytime. I was in London, honey. I swear to God." Clara let out a soft laugh, a sound that was terrifying to Michael. "Don't you dare use God's name to cover up your filth, Michael." Clara cut him off flatly. She picked up the tablet from the table, swiped the screen, and held it right in front of Michael's face. "See this red dot? That's not witchcraft. That's GPS. A smart tag I sewed into your blue suitcase myself before you left. Did you think I was stupid? I watched you leave the airport, get on the highway, and stop at that widow's house. 5 days, Michael. You were there for 5 days without moving an inch." Michael's face turned from pale to gray. He realized he had been carrying the enemy with him not in his bed, but in his suitcase. "Honey, I can explain." Michael tried to get up, his trembling hand reaching for Clara's. "I did go there, but just to visit. Jessica, she needed help. She was depressed, she wanted to kill herself. As a friend, I was just trying to help. I didn't do anything." Clara slapped his hand away forcefully, as if it were covered in germs. "Help?" Clara picked up the TV remote. "Let's see your version of helping." Clara pressed play. The large TV in the living room flickered to life. The video Clara had recorded from her car was displayed in crystal clear quality. On the screen, Michael was seen sitting relaxedly on the porch. Jessica brought him coffee and then wrapped her arms around his neck from behind. Michael laughed and pinched her cheek. It didn't look like someone preventing a suicide attempt. It looked like a pair of newlyweds in their honeymoon phase. The audio from the video was clear due to the close proximity and the quiet neighborhood. Michael's voice in the video, "Don't worry, honey. The first lady at home is easy to fool. Just tell her it's a business trip and it's settled. All she knows is how to cook and put on makeup." Jessica's voice, "But what if she gets suspicious? The money you transferred yesterday, is it safe?" Michael's voice, "It's safe. She never checks the account. She trusts me too much. So stupid, right? It's her father's inheritance, but I get to enjoy it with you." The two of them laughed in the video, a laugh that now echoed in Clara's living room, bouncing off the walls and shattering Michael's pride into a million pieces. Clara turned off the TV. The silence returned, this time much more menacing. Michael fell to his knees, his legs unable to support him anymore. The evidence was absolute. There was no room for denial. The word stupid he had uttered in the video had now come back to slap him in the face. "Honey, Forgive me. Michael started crying, crocodile tears streaming down his face. He prostrated himself at Clara's feet, trying to hug her legs. I made a mistake. She put a spell on me. I wasn't myself when I said that. I swear, I only love you. Clara took a step back, avoiding his touch, with a look of disgust. A mistake happens once, Michael. When it's 5 days, tens of thousands of dollars transferred, and a pair of rings in the safe, that's not a mistake. That's a habit. That's a choice, Clara said coldly. Clara kicked the old suitcase filled with his clothes near Michael's feet. Get up, she commanded. Michael looked up, his eyes red and wet. Honey, please don't do this. Let's talk. We can fix this. I promise I'll break up with Jessica right now. Don't kick me out, honey. Where will I go? That's not my problem, Clara replied emotionlessly. She pointed to the stack of cardboard boxes in the corner. See those boxes? That's all of your property left in this house. Your old clothes, your underwear, your toothbrush, take it all. Michael stared at the boxes in horror. What do you mean? This house? The car? The car? Clara smirked. The SUV was bought with my money, Michael. I've already taken the title from the safe and secured it in a safe deposit box. Your precious sport motorcycle? I sold it yesterday. I used the money as compensation for my tears. This house? The deed is in my late father's name. You don't have a right to a single square inch of it. Michael's eyes widened. You sold my bike? You took everything? I only took back what was mine, Clara retorted sharply. Did you think I would just sit back while you squandered my parents' legacy to finance that woman? Oh, and one more thing. Your supplementary credit card has been blocked, so don't even think about using it to pay for a hotel tonight. Michael staggered to his feet. His face was now red with a mixture of anger and shame. His mask of the remorseful husband fell away, revealing his true, selfish face. How could you, Clara? I am your husband, the head of this household. You can't just do this. I can sue you for embezzling a husband's assets, Michael shouted, trying to intimidate her. Clara didn't flinch. She stepped forward, meeting his gaze. Go ahead and sue me. Mr. Davison, our family lawyer, already has all the evidence of your adultery. The video recording, the bank transfers, the chats, the GPS location. You want a legal battle? Bring it on. I will make sure you walk out of that courthouse not just a broke divorcee, but with a legal record of adultery that will make it impossible for you to find a decent job for the rest of your life. The threat shut Michael's mouth instantly. He knew who Mr. Davison was, a senior lawyer who never lost. Michael realized he had been checkmated before the game even began. Now, pick up those boxes of trash. Clara pointed to the front door with her slender finger. But honey, it's already dark. Where will I sleep? Michael's voice became whiny again, his courage gone. Go to your London, Clara sneered sadistically. I'm sure Jessica would be happy to take you in. After all, you're a perfect match. Both traitors, both trash, you belong together. Michael remained frozen, his feet too heavy to move. He looked around the luxurious living room, the comfortable sofa he used to lounge on, the big screen TV where he played video games, the life of comfort he had enjoyed for free. It was all about to vanish. Clara took out her phone and pressed a speed dial number. Hello, security? Please come to my house right now. There's a trespasser causing a disturbance and refusing to leave. Bring a few guys with you. Hearing that, Michael panicked. Being kicked out by his wife was embarrassing enough, but being dragged out by the neighborhood security in front of all the neighbors? His pride as a man would be utterly destroyed. With trembling hands and tears of defeat, Michael began to pick up the cardboard boxes one by one. He looked at Clara one last time, hoping for a miracle. Honey, is there really no second chance? Clara looked at him squarely, a look that killed any remaining hope he had. The second chance died the moment you decided to check into the Hotel Chandler Way. Goodbye, Michael. Clara turned her back and walked up the stairs without a second glance, leaving her husband, now no more than a homeless man in his own home. The sound of cardboard boxes scraping against the tiled floor was pathetic. Michael, The former young executive who used to walk with his chin up was now hunched over in defeat. His hands were full. His right hand dragged the old suitcase with his clothes. His left arm clutched the stack of boxes containing the last of his dignity. When Michael reached the front door, two burly security guards were already standing there with stern faces. It was the head guard and his deputy, summoned by Clara. "Mr. Michael," the head guard greeted him, his tone no longer respectful. "Mrs. Clara has asked us to ensure you leave the premises without taking any property that does not belong to you. And please, do not cause a disturbance. The neighbors are starting to come out." Michael glanced back one last time. He saw Clara standing at the top of the second-floor landing. She looked down on him from above, her face calm and expressionless, like a queen watching the exile of a traitor. There were no tears of farewell, no wave of her hand. "Take care of yourself, Michael," Clara said softly, but her voice echoed clearly in the now empty living room. "I hope you enjoy your new London." Bam! The front door slammed shut. The sound of the deadbolt turning twice signified the de facto end of their marriage. Outside the gate, Michael became a spectacle. Neighbors from both sides began whispering as they saw the usually dapper Mr. Michael being escorted out by security, carrying cardboard boxes. The shame was overwhelming. He ordered an Uber with a trembling hand. His destination, 18 Chandler Way. Meanwhile, inside the house, Clara let out a long, deep breath. The heavy weight on her chest seemed to have been expelled along with Michael. She sat on the sofa, picked up her phone, and sent one last text message to Jessica. "Your package has been delivered. Come get your trash. He's all yours now. By the way, the fraudulent $5,000 business loan will still be collected by my lawyer next week. Get your own lawyer ready, my friend." Clara then blocked both Jessica's and Michael's numbers permanently. 1 month later, the afternoon sun shone on Clara's fresh, glowing face. She was sitting at an outdoor cafe in Buckhead, enjoying a latte and a slice of red velvet cake. Her appearance was completely different. She had a new, chic haircut, and an aura of happiness radiated from her. Without the parasite in her life, Clara's career as a freelance consultant, which she had put on hold, was now thriving again. "Clara! Oh my God, you are absolutely glowing since you became a bachelorette again," exclaimed Sarah, an old friend who had just joined her. Clara laughed lightly. "Of course, Sarah. Being free from life's burdens is the best anti-aging secret." Sarah pulled her chair closer, her face shifting into serious gossip mode. "Hey, have you seen the video that's going viral in the Sandy Springs neighborhood Facebook group? It's about Michael and his mistress." "No, I've deleted everything related to them from my life." "What happened?" Clara asked casually, stirring her latte. Sarah eagerly held out her phone. "Here, look. Karma is a real thing, Clara. And it's brutal." On the screen was a shaky, amateur video filmed by someone from behind the fence of a cheap, cramped apartment complex. The video showed Michael, now looking thin, disheveled, and sweaty, having a massive fight with Jessica on the porch of a small, run-down unit. A beat-up scooter was parked next to them, a far cry from a luxury car. Jessica's voice in the video. "You said you had secret savings. Where is it? We're 2 months behind on rent for this dump." "I'm so embarrassed, Michael. If I had known, I would have found another man." Michael's voice. "Just be patient, Jess. I'm applying for jobs everywhere. It's hard to find work with the lawsuit from Clara on my record. You can't just keep demanding things. Help me out for once." Jessica's voice. "Help you with what? All my money is gone paying back Clara. You're useless, Michael. If I knew it would be like this, I never would have taken you in." Crash! The sound of a plate shattering as Jessica threw it at Michael. Michael could only duck, covering his face with his hands, looking utterly defeated. The king that Jessica had once adored was now nothing more than a burdensome, annoying leech. Clara watched the video without a trace of sympathy. She just smiled faintly and handed the phone back to Sarah. "What a shame," Clara said flatly. "It turns out their love was only worth as much as his bank balance. The moment the balance hit zero, their love malfunctioned." Sarah shook her head. I'm so satisfied seeing this, Clara. Jessica is selling homemade snacks on the street corner to make ends meet now. And Michael, I heard he's driving for Uber, but with a borrowed account because of his legal issues. They're completely ruined. Clara took another sip of her latte. It tasted sweet and warm. She looked up at the bright afternoon sky. She used to be so afraid of losing Michael, so afraid of being alone. But today, she realized that losing someone who doesn't appreciate you isn't a tragedy, it's a blessing from God, wrapped in pain. Michael and Jessica were now trapped in the little hell they had built for themselves, blaming each other, hurting each other, haunted by poverty and shame. As for Clara, she walked out of that cafe with her head held high. The clicking of her heels on the pavement was a rhythm of confidence. She got into her new car, bought in her own name. She started the engine, played her favorite song, and drove through the city streets. Her life had just begun, and this time, she was in complete control of her own happiness.